Hashem Elecha V'Noshuva Chadesh Yameinu K'Kedem Okay. Since we're not going to be able to cover everything anyway, so I'm going to sort of skip around right at the beginning. We're going to start on page 20. Avodat Halev b'Nisan, the service of the heart for the month of Nisan. Did you know that the month of Nisan is the first of all the months in the Jewish calendar, right? That's Chodesh Hazeh Lachem Rosh Chodoshim Rishon Hu B'Chol Chodshei Hashanah. And the word Nisan itself has the word miracles. It's the month of miracles. Nisan is the Rosh Hashanah of the year. It's considered the first month, and there's already a feeling of liberation in the air. Things are coming back to life. Ishbisser says that the reason that things are coming back to life in the month of Nisan, right? Pesach is also known as Chodesh Aviv, the holiday of the spring. Ishbisser says it's not that Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim during springtime because it's good weather, but rather it's good weather because nature heard that in the month of Nisan we were going to be redeemed. So the world said, "Oh, the Jews are going to be redeemed. We're coming back to life." You know. So page 20, actually 21, just to give a taste of what the avoid of the month of Pesach, the third line on page 21. So he says, "Pesach lumatzot." He was talking about the different things that we do, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, etc. At the door, yeah. Okay. Still a in the room. Is somebody coming in to learn or what? Huh? Ashira. Okay. So she shut the door. Just make sure the door gets closed. It's open. Shira, shut the door, please, okay? Yeah. The door is closed, okay. So he says like this. He says, "B'Pesach l'umat zot kol ha'inyan hu b'toch beiti." Pesach is all about what's happening in my own home. In other words, it's really getting involved with your home, with yourself. Hachametz shani chayav l'salek. The chometz that I need to get rid of is hachametz shali. It's my chometz, not your chometz, right? Everybody's always busy trying to get rid of somebody else's chometz, right? The Pesach, the whole thing is that it's time to get rid of your own chometz. Hachametz hametzchabei b'toch beiti. We're talking about the chometz that is hiding in my house. Come again with me. Hi. Okay? It's all about getting rid of my own chametz. We're in the end of the first line on page 21. The Pesach medubar mamash b'bayit sheli, l'chayim sheli. Pesach is about my house, my life. אני צריך לעשות בדיקת חמץ בחיים שלי. I need to do a search for the leaven in my life. אני צריך לחפש בעומק העומקים. I have to go deep into the deepest depths של חיי of my life. מה לא בסדר איתי? What's wrong with me? What's not right? לפעמים זה רק פירוק קטן של חמץ, and sometimes it might just be just a little, here, sit looking with Bernard, okay? Looking with Bernard. Yes. Don't have enough books. לפעמים sometimes it's זה רק פירוק קטן של חמץ. It might just be one little crumb of חמץ. Might have to get one upstairs. Huh? It's okay.
I don't have my glasses.
She doesn't. No, but she doesn't have her glasses anyway. She's listening. Okay. So now you know that the share looking with Tova. Okay. So he says that. Chometz is osur b'mashu. Now, practically speaking, when we talk about chometz, we're talking about plain and simple chometz. All spirituality aside, we're talking about plain and simple what's chometz and what's not chometz, and you can't have any chometz on Pesach, right? You want to get into a little bit, like what does chometz represent, and so on. So. In other words, let's put it this way: there's one aspect of halacha which is like the straightforward, superficial aspect of halacha. This is what you do. This is what you're supposed to do. This is what you're not allowed to do. This is what you mustn't do. But also, it says kinei mitzvah v'torah or. The mitzvah is the candle, and the Torah is the light. In other words, every mitzvah is meant to illuminate something in your life, and is meant to illuminate the world. So what is the inner work of the holiday of Pesach? What is supposed to be done inside my kishkes, right? So it speaks about this in all this forum that chometz is about boasting, haughtiness, gaiva, right? You take flour and water, you mix it together, you make a dough. And what happens is when it becomes chometz, it starts getting bloated, it starts getting, bigger and bigger. And, visually, the word chometz is the same letters as the word matzah. The mem and the tzadik are the same letters, right? But the only difference is between the hey and the chet, right? So symbolically, the hey has this opening, like there's room for somebody else to come in. The chometz is like the ches is closed. The letter is closed, and in other words, it's all about me. There's no room for somebody else to come in, right? And when one is self-absorbed, your ego gets inflated, etc., so on. So in a certain sense, searching for the chometz, getting rid of the chometz, is representing what do I need to do to fix myself, right? What do I need to do to fix myself? He says, Reb Shlomo, b'Rosh Hashanah v'Yom Kippurim ani oseh tshuva. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, I'm doing tshuva, right? Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, I'm doing tshuva, and אבל מיהו האני הזה, but who is this I שעושה תשובה? Who is this I that is doing תשובה? האני הזה מתברר ונולד בפסח. That I is getting fixed up and being born again on Pesach. Tishrei הוא לא החודש הראשון. Tishrei is not the first month of the year, it's the seventh month. ניסן הוא החודש הראשון. בפסח אני עוסק בעצם האני שלי. פסח is like my renewal, right? My personal renewal, my personal coming back. לפני שהחיים שלי ממש מתחדשים, because my life is being renewed. כדי שהחיים שלי יהיו חיים אמיתיים וחופשיים, in order that my life should be real and the life of a real free person, אני צריך לנקות את הכלי שלי, I have to clean my vessel. אני צריך לבדוק את החמץ בתוך ביתי, I have to get rid of my personal chametz. So we keep on doing this again year after year, right? But every year, like, you got to do your spring cleaning and make sure that you're ready to be a real free person. So, page 22. באביב יוצא הטבע לחירות. In spring, nature is becoming free again. Right? So he says, Pesach huzman chirutenu, right? Everybody knows that Pesach is the season of our liberation. זה אומר שהקדוש ברוך הוא פותח בשמיים את שערי החירות. That means that God is opening up the gates of freedom. העולם שלנו הוא כלי לעולמות גבוהים יותר. What's happening in this world is a vessel for higher worlds. לעולמות שמעליו. Now, there was things that are happening in this world, it's because it's as a result of things that are happening in higher worlds. אם אנחנו מרגישים כאן למטה התנוצצות קטנה של חירות, if we feel here in this world sparks sparkles of freedom, של חופש, זה אומר שמשהו גדול קורה בשמיים, that means that something big is happening in heaven. שערי החירות נפתחים לרווחה בליל הסדר. The gates of freedom are being opened wide open on the night of the Seder. אבל בעצם כל חודש ניסן הוא חודש החירות, but really the whole month of Nisan is the month of freedom. So this idea that so we're celebrating Pesach at this particular time of the year because this is the time of the year that this time took place, right? But it's not just a commemoration of something that happened in the past. It's happening again. The lights of liberation, the lights that God revealed into the world in that original Pesach are being shined again. They're being opened again. The energy of that liberation is coming down to the world again. Okay? That's the Indian. That's what's happening in every Yom Tov. Chassidus explains that the reason we're not supposed to do melacha, that we're supposed to do work on Shabbos and on Yom Tov, is because these are such holy lights that you have to be ready to receive it. And the more you're involved with the mundane world, the less capable you are of receiving that light of Kedusha that is being revealed on the holiday.
Like you have to know it's bigger than you, so if you would try to control it, you would just collapse.
Let me give an example. This guy is getting married and he says to the rabbi, is it okay if during the chuppah I call my stockbroker? The rabbi says, no, absolutely not. Imagine what about during the chuppah if I want to stop in the middle and do a little bit of planting or write a little bit or things like that. He says, no. And then the guy says, all these things I can't do at my chuppah, I'm not getting married. Right? the whole thing is to be available, to be ready. If you're busy planting, or you're busy, harvesting, or you're busy rebuilding, or demolishing, or whatever it is, you're involved with the mundane world, and you're not able to be ready to receive the kedusha that's coming down. Okay, so that's, in other words. So it's a very deep explanation, but don't take that as being the one and only reason why we don't do Melacha on Yom Tov and so on. But the idea being is that there's something very special happening, and you got to be ready for it, to receive it. You can, there's all these stories about students of the Baal Shem Tov and other tzaddikim that they wanted to have a revelation of Mashiach. Then they would end up taking them somewhere, and they'd see this very ordinary person, and the Baal Shem Tov would stop and talk with that person, and students were wondering, why is he talking to this person, this and that, and so on. And then later in the day, after they said goodbye and everything, Baal Shem Tov says, so? They would say, what? He said, that was Mashiach. But if you're not on the level, you don't see it. If you're not, it's okay. If you're not on the level, you don't see it, right? You can sit at the Seder and think that, oh, Pesach, it's a nice feast, matzo ball soup and this and that and so on and so on. Or okay, we eat matzah, But you got to be on the level you got to be ready to actually experience liberation. But to experience liberation is not a push-it thing, right? To be free from your anger, to be free from your jealousy, to be free from all these things, it takes preparation, and that's what's represented by the chametz. So, practically speaking, you got to do all the physical chores to get the house ready for Pesach, and to clean up for Pesach, and to take this chametz and get rid of the chametz. All that's what we got to do on the practical level. For inner spiritual level, so you got to do all this work also, so that you actually can experience it. If it's a matter of, well, what's the most important thing? The most important thing right now is the practical. I think that he once said this. He learned in the yeshiva, he's learned in the Zal. He says to me, so I meditate today and I go higher than you go by putting on tefillin. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you. It may be that in your meditation you're going higher, but the fact is that the mitzvah is to put right on. Right? The mitzvah on Pesach night is not to meditate on matzah, but to actually eat matzah. The mitzvah is to actually get rid of your chametz, right? Yes, you should meditate on what you're doing, etc., etc. That's all very important. But understand that when it comes down to brass tacks, this is what you got to do. Gets up and wants to have breakfast, and the parents leave a note on the table. We love you very much. We're meditating on how much we love you. Thank you, Daddy. Thank you, Mommy. It's beautiful. I'm hungry. I want to eat. Okay. So that's a reality that you got to keep in mind. So it's enough to mistaqim b'sviveinu. We look around. We see nature coming back to life, freedom, right? It's growing. All those little seeds that were in the ground, that were crying all winter, they're all breaking forth outward. They're now liberated. Everything is beginning to grow. So somebody might think, why did we leave Egypt specifically in springtime? Because it's in a sense, nature is being liberated, separated at the same time. But you should notice the opposite. Because we left Egypt, in other words, the freedom that came down to the world for the Jewish people at the time of the Exodus is a freedom that was given to the whole world. The whole world is free again. Atem Zochim, page 23. Atem Zochim, you may remember what we learned before Rosh Hashanah, that Yesh Kol B'Yekum, there's a voice in nature that says, Haomer Naaseh Adam. There's a voice of saying, let's make man. Yesh Kol Acher, there's another voice that says, Shelo Yeh Adam. Right? There were some angels that said, no, don't create man. Ma Enosh Kitziskeranu, it's a Pessach in Tehillim. What is man that you should even consider his existence? Voices are constantly at battle with each other in every person. There's a positive, there's a negative energy, right? Adam, the voice that says that the voice that said before creation that God should not create man, that voice, it wants to destroy man. It wants to Adam. That voice says it's not good that like a man ruins everything. Man would have been better off had he not been created, because look at the mess that we've made. Now that voice is not, in its origins, it's not a voice of hatred, it's a voice of accusation. And כל הזה הוא הגורם לכך שאנחנו מנסים כל הזמן לעצור את תופעת החיים. It's that voice that is always to put an end to life. שלנו ושל כל העולם יחד איתנו, ours that of everybody else also. The change to green. The guy in front of you is busy texting, and you blast your horn, get out of my way, who needs you? Right? That's that voice of negativity. And when it gets really bad, that voice says, who needs me? Right? What do I need to be here for?
But isn't like that to say qualities? Like,
to what?
to your negative qualities, to say like, I don't like you, I don't want you.
Or to your negative qualities. Yeah, you got to use his weapon against him. Yeah. But that's a whole other thing that you got to look very deeply and very Lamed in Tanya, goes into that, because that you got to be very careful how you do that. But it's like this. As this guy is looking for something in the sand. And somebody comes over and says, "What are you looking for?" He says, "Oh, I dropped the gold coin." So he says, "Well, where did you drop it?" He says, "I dropped it over there in the mud." So he says, "Well, why are you looking for it over here?" He says, "I don't want to get dirty." And as you gotta know where to look, but where you gotta deal with the problem. And also, Reb Nachman says that you're wrestling with somebody in the mud. Even if you win the fight, you're still going to get full of. In other words, there are ways to deal with your negativity that even if you don't do it right, even if you end up winning, you still got full of, you still got covered. Okay? Sometimes it comes along and they're really upsetting, and you feel like, right? You might come into the meantime, you dealt with a lot of schmutz, and and you got covered, you know. So there's ways to do it without getting without and it's just better to say, excuse me, I'm not dealing with any negativity now. I'm focusing. That's what Alter Rebbe basically says there. That, you know, when he talks about the difference between depression and bitterness, sadness versus bitterness. And bitter is okay. Like, you know, if you put something in your mouth and it's bitter, you spit it out.
It's not
right?
poison.
Yeah, pfui, I don't want this, right? So when you taste the bitterness of something negative, it's good because it'll propel you to stay away from it, right?
Mhm.
But if you're going to go into absence, if you're going to go into sadness over it, it could lead to depression.
Self-destructive, selfless.
Right.
Or you can end up eating the good parts of it.
What?
You could end up eating the good parts of yourself, like the true
Yeah,
parts.
yeah. So, you know, careful wisdom. So, in other words, so negativity can show up in negativity can show up in very subtle ways. Good Purim!
Good Purim, good Pessach.
Have a seat. Okay. Put on your long distance lenses. Okay.
It's called
A what?
a Purim.
A Purim Yid, Baruch Hashem. What am I drinking? Okay, so the very central, like, you know, like I said, the example, get out of my way already, right? But if you don't want into the next thing, I think. In other words, the idea of Pesach that Chomas is also even in the slightest amount, because it's, you know, maybe you'll still be a good Yid, but you're not really free. We learned this, I mentioned it last week, and actually mentioned it to somebody again this morning. Hashem is giving you something. You say every day, you say 3 times a day. How do you translate that pasuk? Yeah.
Open up your hands. He opens up your hands. And he satiates the whole every living being.
What pasuk must be l'chol chai? So Pasuk Pshat is that he does this with his will. He wants to give us. Hashem wants to give us, right? Okay, so let's take it a little bit at a different angle. Reb Shlomo once said, and I think we learned it, we for sure learned it in Saki where, but he says that a stingy man is a person who has, and he's stingy and he doesn't want to share. Okay? He says the truth is that the stingy man, the reason he can't share is because he actually doesn't own anything that he has. He has $100 million in the bank, but you know what? He doesn't own it. What does that mean? It's his, but he doesn't own it. Have master, but he can't give it away. Okay, let's explain that a little bit. And I'm giving you a whole different level of meaning. Yad in the Torah means my power, my possessions, that I am controlling in life. That's yad. Okay. Now, you want to give me something, right? I open now, and then I close my hand, right? So, what happened now? In other words, what I'm basically, symbolically, or poetically, okay? I'm accepting it on my terms. I'm accepting it on my terms. I deserve this, fine, right? So I got this item now, right? But you know what I didn't get? I didn't get the ratzon. What does that mean? I didn't get the ratzon. No, I didn't get. Say that again. The will of the giver. I didn't get the will of the giver. No, the will of the giver is when Hashem gives me something. Hashem doesn't say the Hashem wants to be willing to share it when necessary, etc. Okay. When you're receiving something from Hashem, the Shekhinah is sort of like saying, open your hand and leave it open. Don't it just on your terms. Receive it the way Hashem wants to give it to you. Receive it the way Hashem wants to give it to you. You will also be able to do it. Then you'll do with it everything that Hashem wants you to do with it as well.
How do we know what God wants us to do?
With your season hockey tickets, I'll tell you.
If a coach Rocco gives me something, I don't want to know what God wants me to do with it.
Yep. A certain amount is for yourself, a certain amount is for tzedakah. That's what you do with it, right? And Reb Shlomo puts it this way: if something is really yours and you give it away, it's still yours.
Like always be your parent. You never become your child.
But it's you're a gift, right? The whole heart, it's still yours. The object is not yours, but it's yours. It's a part of you. It's not that you like you had something and you lost it. You had something and you did exactly what you wanted to do with it.
The only money you take to the grave is the money you give away.
That's right. You know the story with Reichman, right?
So,
Yeah.
with the red socks?
With the socks, yeah.
Does everybody know that story?
No, because we have a story.
It's Zenith. It's Zenith.
When Reichman in Toronto, when it was a big bus. Sorry?
No.
As a matter of fact, he used to sit every Sunday morning for all the people who came to collect money from Israel. He would right away give them $1,000 to pay for their airfare. Besides whatever it's the best, then chas v'sholom poverty. You know, there are people who are wealthy. Like I have a relative in Montreal. He comes home every day. His door is open, and for a good couple of hours every day, there are people coming in. He's sitting and writing checks for tzedakah. And then there are others. They also give a lot of tzedakah, but you can't get into me. Like it's like. But in any case, anybody. I'm certainly not judging anybody wealthy because I have not had. Like it's like a million, like you have a few $1 million and like, man, they descend on you. It's not so okay. Some people come and they're gracious and thankful for whatever you give them, and some people, time, whatever the case. So Reichman, I still want to give them. Yeah. So Reichman used to sit there and write checks, and it was a big bulk tzedakah. So when he passed away, they opened up the will. There was a will that was written to be followed right before the funeral. There was another will to be opened up after 30 days. The will before the funeral, he wrote, in my drawer in the bedroom, I've got this pair of socks that are my favorite socks, and I want to be. So they went and they found the socks, and they went to the Chevra Kedusha. Our father asked that he be buried with these socks. Chevra Kedusha said, I'm sorry, you can't, not allowed. There's laws about, the tachrich, you can't just, put on your tuxedos, there's or even your socks. So they said, come on, please, there's got to be an exception over here, like, they come up to Rabbanim, our father gave so much tzedakah during his life. Please, there's got to be some for that. They said, and the first thing in the will says, I assume that you buried me without my socks. And I just wanted you to know that you can't even take your socks with you. You can't even take your socks with you. In other words, the only thing you take with you is that's what you take with you, right? So so we were to that, like just leave it in the sink. So we get into this, that Pessach, right? In other words, open your hand to really be free. To really be free is to be as much as you possibly can be like God. God is the free being in the universe. Okay? Only Hashem is the real free being in the universe. And Hashem gives, he gives with his whole heart. You know what I mean? In other words, so it's a matter of receiving it. Huh?
God does everything with Shem Shemayim.
God does everything with Shem Shemayim. He's religious, huh? And so pick it and get it from it. Something even a little is already enough to ruin it. To be chometz also b'mashro. The slightest amount of chometz is forbidden. Okay. So there's a voice of accusation, right? And that voice is always causing problems. That's why winter comes to the world, because of that negativity. The voice that wants to stop the progress of life. That gets stronger during the winter. That's why things freeze up and don't grow. But then comes the month of Nisan, and the voice of gets stronger. Pessach, and comes spring, and comes the holiday of Pessach. Okay, Kais Vachorev is already a lot, like I said before, we're not going to cover everything in the Sefer. So I want you to go to page 31.
Quick question.
Yes.
So the chametz, I'm supposed to eat any at all. You should
Oh,
drop,
so obviously not going to own it.
so I could on the top of the. So okay, so you really need to clear out every.
You clear out everything, but you know, you're going to learn a little bit the last of Pesach. Yonah is going to be teaching some of the halachas. He's going to be away, I'm saying from Tuesday to next Wednesday, he's going to be giving this class. But you're not allowed to own chometz during Pesach. You're not allowed to have any pleasure from chometz. And of course, you're not allowed to eat any chometz.
It's a question of what needs to own.
To own, yes, so we sell the chometz, whatever you said, but to actually be the legal owner of chometz, you're not allowed. Okay, so what is freedom? So who remembers Janis Joplin?
Freedom.
Freedom is another word for what? So you know Janis Joplin better than I do.
Freedom.
People, there are some people who actually slavery.
Most of us.
We don't know what freedom is. We haven't tasted freedom. So
Freedom is responsibility. Slavery is I'm not responsible.
That's freedom.
Huh?
So on one side of America, there's the Statue of Liberty. But we need on the other side of America, the Statue of Responsibility.
Right. It's responsibility. I'm responsible for what I do. Right? 1/5. That's the high number. There's another opinion, 1 in 500.
No. The rest staying behind and becoming. Well, we're probably doing that.
We're descendants of the ones who got out.
Or we're the ones that didn't get out.
No, they didn't get out.
He's speaking under.
Anyway, so to be free is so let's say I have a whole bunch of money and I have a hard time sharing it. Am I free? No, I'm not free. I love 10 people and I can't manage to love 11. Am I free? I'm not free. Right? So here he's talking about chirut ha'ava, the freedom to be able to love. And to love, by the way, Hebrew doesn't mean that, oh, good morning, I love you, just don't call me. You know, hava, the root of the word hava is hav, is to contribute. If you love, the definition of in Hebrew, it means that you're contributing something to this person's life. Okay? And we have all kinds of prejudices. We have all kinds of issues with freedom. Like, you know, would you like to have some freedom? Well, how much does it cost? It's expensive. You sure you want to be free? All right. You sure you want to be responsible for everything? Right? And the way I didn't send it to you, but you listen to this link of the shir that Reb gave. The way he put it was like this. He says, you know what it means to do a mitzvah in this world and And in a certain sense, these are the words he used. You're birthing God into the world. You're bringing the Rebbeinu Shalom into the world. Right? Opinion in the Medrash says that even receiving the Torah, as we were saying, Nasa Nishma, in our minds, we were already thinking golden calf. Wild, right? So he was explaining what we were saying was, Hashem, that much responsibility that you're giving us, we can't do that. It's too much. To birth you into the world, that we're responsible for your presence in this, is too much. A golden calf means that there's a system. There's an intermediary. I'm responsible for so much. Somebody else is responsible for everything. You know what I mean? In other words, it's a system which puts limitations on everything, right? And real freedom is Hashem is saying, who told you that you can't do this? You can do more. You know what? Sometimes you watch these videos of the Rebbe when he was handing out dollars, and you see like a shliach is coming and he's bringing a yid, and he says, Rebbe, this man just gave $1 million to Stoker for the school or for the Chabad house or whatever. He says, the Rebbe will say, Yeshua, and next year you should do a lot more.
Then he said, you don't need to bribe me for bracha.
He would also
He
say,
had a good sense of humor.
yeah, but he would say, wonderful. Now do more. Now do more, right? And very often what we say is like, like I gave it the office already. Don't ask me for more, And but chirut, like people knock on your door to say, like, can you give some charity? And the guy says, oh, I gave you at the office, And it's just an expression, like in other words, I already did my good deed for today. Why are you calling me for another one? Right? So you're not free. That's not freedom. Freedom is that you're free to keep on doing good and to keep on being like the best person in the world.
Pessach is called a chag me'avdus,
and this sounds like me'avdus la'avdus, huh?
Can one translate that Pessach is from no response?
Very good. I'm serious. You put it very well.
What's the answer?
I told you yes.
Just one word, yes.
And that you should copyright it.
See?
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
There is a message that I was told that when Lincoln emancipated the black people, most of them, after they ran away, they came back.
And what about us? After we came out of Mitzrayim, how many times did we learn in the Torah that we wanted to go back already?
Well, that wasn't us. That was the error. It was
No, not only.
That's not the being responsible.
Michal, watch it. Shira's here.
No, you're taking responsibility.
In other words,
Yeah.
to be a chirutnik, one does.
That's already heavy. Chirutnik is a political party.
So one, in order to be truly free, one needs to take the responsibility of being free. And being free is this, right?
Yeah. Free to be your highest, most beautiful self.
So I know
And
this when I was their age. How come I didn't know this?
It's never too late for freedom.
I like that too. You have to copyright it.
What do you say?
But I was thinking about when you were asked to give again, and you're asked to give to someone else, and you're asked to give again. You have to acknowledge that in this giving, you are gaining something. Otherwise, you feel that you have
Even yeah, but, I mean,
taken
but
it out
okay,
of control.
yeah.
have to
You know,
take
there's a
control of
story.
the
There's a
situation.
story that the sons once came to a certain town with his rabbi, and he's smelling the air, and he starts following his nose through the streets. Finally, comes to this. Oh no, hold on. The story is like this. Starts like this. The Jews in a certain community in Europe in communist times, they had to dig up the Jewish cemetery and move all the graves because they were going to build a highway through there. Anyway, one of the graves they dug up, an old grave, and they found this man whose body was perfect, wasn't decomposed at all, which they knew right away, oh, this is some big tzaddik. But he was buried in priest's clothes.
Mhm.
And that's unusual, right? So
Can't take your socks with me.
so this is the story. The story is they went into town and they wanted to find out who was this. And they found one old woman who remembered the story. And this man was the Gabbai Tzedakah. He was the one responsible for collecting the charity for the poor and distributing to the poor. And every day he would go after davening, he'd go around to the community, collect money, and then the poor people would come to his house and he would distribute accordingly. So what's the story? Why is he buried in priest's clothes and so on? So she said that what happened was that the sons of Rebbe came to town one day, and he said, I smelled the fragrance of Mashiach. And he followed his nose until he came to this man's house, knocked on the door. He said, can I come in? He said, yes. And Mamish was smelling, and he goes over to this closet, and he opens up the closet and picks up the priest's robes from the floor. And he says to this older Yid, what's this? So he tells him that every day he goes and collects tzedakah, and one day it happened that after he distributed the tzedakah, another poor man came with a story of woe, and even though he already had collected once, he had to put his coat back on and go out and collect again. He finally collected some more money, gave it to this poor man. He's tired, he's old, sits down, wants to have a cup of tea, and there's another knock on the door, and another poor man comes with a story of woe. He says, why didn't you come earlier? Excuse the hair. He says, I already went to collect twice today. I can't go collecting a third time. He says, you have to help me. So I put my coat back on, and I went out to collect, and I realized that nobody's going to give me any money now. Like, you know, this is you know, like people weren't so rich there. And so he says, I'm walking in the marketplace and walking by the stall of this guy, Michael, the horse trader, who was already pretty much out of the community and never participated in any tzedakah. So I figured, you know what, I'll ask him. So I asked him, would you be willing to help out this family? And for some reason or other, he said, you know what? I'll be a sport if you're going to be a sport. I happen to have a set of priest's garments. And if you're willing to put them on and walk around in the marketplace singing Jewish songs, Kol Nidre, whatever it was, for half an hour, I'll give you the money. So he said, okay, I'll do it. Anyway, he did it. It was very embarrassing. People were thinking, like, you know, like, man, this Muslim must have gone out of his mind. Anyway, he did it. He got the money. He went home, gave it, and the guy said, oh, you're a real sport. You can even keep these robes. So he went home and gave the poor man the money. He said he was so disgusted, he just threw it into the closet. And he says to the Sons of Rebbe, he says, I'm really ashamed of what happened, but what can I do? Sons of Rebbe says, don't be ashamed. These now have the fragrance of Mashiach. And after 120 years, when you leave the world, you should be buried in these garments. That was the story. And going along with what Michal was saying, if you're really free, if you're really doing the mitzvah, in other words, if you're really free, he could have easily said, listen, I've collected twice already today. You'll have to wait till tomorrow. Go to somebody else, let them help you, right? But if you're really free, the issue is not, did I do enough already today? The issue is what else needs to be done.
A person could, if everyone could sacrifice his dignity, his ego, his self-esteem to that extent to help another human being, he deserves
You'll be here already, right?
Yeah. And the burial was a sign that people need to do it.
The story, yeah. But that's real freedom. Real freedom is that you know that something needs to be done, and you don't let anything hold you back from doing it. Okay, so we'll be Mamshech tomorrow on Yos Hashem, okay? Have a good day. Oh, one more very important thing. Guess what? We have to increase our joy the entire month of Adar. Okay? Even though Purim is over, the joy is not over. And a good technique is to express your gratitude frequently throughout the day. A really good technique is to give people blessings that will put you into a space of joy. Okay? Another technique is, and you can use them all, is to go a little bit deeper every day. To in other words, today I did this mitzvah because it was nice to do it, but I want to get deeper. I want to know that I'm doing it because this is what I really want to do. And just what would I rather do now? Read some comics or learn Torah for a minute? Well, read comics, but you know what? I'm going to learn Torah for a minute. So I learned Torah for a minute, says the p.1. Good, you learned for a minute. Express your gratitude that you got to learn for a minute and that you did that. Be grateful. So, Hoydel Hashem Kitayv Kibalam Chassid.